Hello, this is Cecilia signing in and welcome to my channel. So today we're going to be making another beginner-friendly project. But before I start with the tutorial, I really would like to thank all of you who've subscribed, who've viewed my channel, and for those of you who've commented, thank you again, and I'll try to reply to every comment. So for today's project, I'm really excited to show and share with you this wonderful drawstring cosmetic bag. You can choose whatever combination. You can make the lining piece, the main flap. You can make 3 combinations of fabric, 2 combinations of fabric, or just one. It's up to you. So this bag comes with a Velcro closure. It comes with drawstrings, and it opens really quite widely, and it sits flat on the surface. It comes with a high wall, so your cosmetics are not going to fall off. I'm going to show you how well your cosmetics would fit into this bag, and you can really carry quite a lot of cosmetics. You can see everything that you need in there, and because it comes with a high wall, you can even have your cosmetics to stand. Closes up really neatly. Tie the drawstrings, and then we use the Velcro. Let's start today's project. I have used a watermelon fabric. I just love this fabric. It's very vibrant. And so you'll need 2 circle pieces measuring 12.5 inches. And you would need a main fabric and a lining piece. So I've decided to use the same fabric for the lining and the main piece for the circle. And I've also ironed on a vinyl protector over the lining piece. This is because you might spill things in the handbag and then you can just wipe it down. And on the main fabric, I've placed cotton wadding. That's because it makes it more comfortable and it sits better. Now for the flap closures, you will need 2 pieces of fabric, the lining piece and the main fabric measuring 8 by 4 inches. And I've also attached some wadding. Now to get the curve at the bottom, just use a bowl to gently draw the curve. Now for the wall closure, you will need 2 pieces of fabric, 20.5 inches by 6 inches. So you need 2 pieces of fabric, 20.5 inches long by 6 inches wide. And I've used the lining piece for this. Then you will also need some cords or ribbons or anything that will use for your cord or drawstring. So 2 pieces or 45 inches long cords. And obviously the toggle cord is optional. Now to draw the circle, I've used a pot lid. And that's why I've used 12.5 inches because that's the largest pot lid that I have. You can use anything else, anything circular in your house. Just draw it and just cut it round and it's done. Now for the handle, 5 by 4 inches. This is how you do it. You divide it into 2 and then you fold the raw edges to meet in the middle and then you sew around the edges. And because I'm going to sew it directly to the outer piece, I will also sew in the raw edges at the short edges. This bag will be made in 4 simple steps. So let's start with the first step. and that's the cord casing wall. So you fold the short edges by quarter and then quarter again, and then sew to neaten the raw edges. Do this for both of the short sides and then repeat for the other piece. These two pieces of fabric will create the wall for your cosmetic bag. So after you've sewn the raw edges in for the shorter edge of the fabric, you're going to divide the fabric into two lengthwise, and then make a stitch line right in the middle of that 3 inches. So you sew right across. So each would be 1.5 inch wide. This is because the cord will go into the upper part of this wall, and the lower part is just going to create additional height. So it's a very simple way of creating the wall for your cosmetic bag. So obviously you get rid of the extra threads and the stray threads, because that's part of sewing. Do it as you get to that point. Don't wait till the end. After doing the wall, the next step would be the flap closure and the handle. Now for the flap closure, you want to attach the Velcro. So it'll be part of the Velcro. You can use either the hook or the softer part, depending on which you like. But I've used the softer part of the Velcro, and I've left the hook for the main part of the fabric. Now, what you would do is you would divide the flap piece into two to find the middle point. And then you attach the Velcro 1 inch from the bottom curve. And you attach it using a double-sided sticky tape before you sew it around. Now, after you've attached the Velcro to the flap, you want to attach the other piece of fabric. So that you want to attach the lining to the main fabric. So the way you do this is you place the two right sides together and just stitch around the 3 sides, leaving the top open. When you finish, turn it over and do a top stitch. Now after that, you want to attach the handle to the main fabric. So you divide the main fabric into 2 and then into 2 again. So you divide it into quarters and make little snips on all 4 corners, and then you attach the handle 1 inch from the top middle point, and you sew on the edges of the handle. After that, you would attach the flap above the handle. So the raw edge of the flap will meet the raw edge of the main fabric. And again, make sure that the midpoint of the flap meets the midpoint of the main fabric, and just sew across. All right, we've done the flap and the Velcro, and I'm just going to show you how it's attached. So you have a Velcro on the main fabric, another piece of Velcro on the closure, and this is the handle. let's set aside the main fabric and work on the inner fabric or the lining. So to do that, you're going to be attaching the cord casing or the wall to the inner fabric. So what you do is you divide the fabric or the circle into quarters, snip the 4 points, and then for the casing you would also snip the midpoint and just match the snipped points and then attach clips. You would place the 2 right sides together and match it at the raw edges. The raw edge of the cord casing matches the top raw edge of the circle. Make sure everything aligns, and you attach clips to aid in the sewing. Then do it for the other cord casing, so it's a beautiful, perfect circle. Then you would sew around the edges. I've used a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Make sure you sew very slowly because you want this to be sewn together, and you want to have that circle wall. So once you've sewn around the circle, check your stitches, and you can see how the wall has been created. The top of the wall is where your cord is going to be placed. Now, for the next step, attaching the main fabric to the lining or to inner fabric. Just make sure that everything aligns and flip the wall down. Check your stitches and flip the closure down, the flap closure, so everything is going to be inside the circle as you sew the circle edges together. So a good way to do this is to match the 4 snip points. So that way you know you're going to do it accurately and everything aligns. So we made 4 snip points on both circles earlier on, and we're going to match it. And we're going to use clips to make sure that everything aligns. Use as many clips as you like to help you. The more the better for this stage. Also, because you're going to turn the bag to the right side later, make sure you leave a turning gap. And for the turning gap, I usually like to leave about 4 to 6 inches so that your whole hand will go in and pull it out and turn it over. So for the turning gap, what I've used is some pins, so it'll remind me to start and to stop sewing in that, leaving the gap. So when you're happy with how it all looks, start sewing. So for this, I've used a 1/2 inch seam allowance and just sew around the circle, leaving the turning gap open. When you've sewed the circle, check your stitches, and if you're happy with it, turn it around and just put your whole hand in and make sure everything is turned and the seams are all edged out properly. Take your time so that you're not going to rip the seam as you turn. Now, because I've used a vinyl iron-on in the process of turning, I've kind of crumpled the vinyl. But not to worry, because it's an iron-on and it works with heat. I will use the special paper provided when I purchased the iron-on, and I'm going to iron the vinyl again. But when you iron the vinyl, just be sure that you use the protective paper, the protective layer, and do not allow for your iron to touch the vinyl. So no direct contact between your iron and the vinyl, because it will spoil your iron. Now that's been ironed on, it looks great. It looks just like before I turned it around. Now the next step, or the final step, is attaching the drawstring cords. To do this, you will need to cut your cord into 2 45-inch lengths. Insert the pin and insert it through the gaps provided at either edge, or rather the gaps that you've made on either edge of the cosmetic bag. And to get the perfect drawstring, when you attach cords, start at one end and finish at the same end. And then for the other cord, again, start at the next end and finish at that same end. So you have 2 perfect drawstring cords. So if you're starting on the right, finish that cord on the right. If you're starting on the left, finish that cord on the left. And then tie the cord. So we've done one cord, we'll just do the other cord at the other side. You can use the toggle or you can omit it, but just showing you the simple way of doing this. I'm omitting the toggle for now. The bag is done. Test the drawstrings. It closes really nicely. What a beautiful bag and such a simple project. This is Cecilia signing out. I hope you had fun watching this video, and this video has in some ways inspired you to start sewing. I hope you had as much fun as I have making this video. Sewing is not just about stitching. Sewing is art, your design. Put things together, put different fabrics together and make it yours. That's what this whole channel is about. It's not just about stitching, it's about creating your own art, customizing things for yourself. If you've enjoyed this video, if it's been of any use to you, please subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to your comments.